there, Megan.
Hey.
Thank you so much for coming in and seeing me today.
Yeah, well, thanks for making yourself available for me to come talk.
Of course, of course. So my name is Alicia, and I'm here to support you with anything that you're going through. And just to let you know, this is entirely confidential today. So anything that you tell me won't leave the walls of this room. Okay?
Great.
Okay. So go ahead. Tell me what's going on.
So, recently just went through a breakup with a partner who, like, we weren't together all that long. It was about 5 months, but before that we'd been very close friends for over a year.
Okay.
So things just kind of built up very fast, and not necessarily from my wants or having expectations, I guess. It was more, and definitely I see it more on his part, that it really sped up. Like, I was sad about personal space and boundaries and everything, but it ended up me almost living there, like at his place. Like, I was there pretty much every night. There's, through the sense of our, like, the 5 months relationship, there's probably only like 2 days that we didn't see each other, like, at a time, like maybe about 4 or 5 times in that whole span. So got really close really fast and happened quickly. So anyway, we it just kind of came out of the blue. He said that he wanted to be in a non-monogamous relationship, and I was willing to adapt and try and find a common ground for us to work on that. Again, it's not something that I felt I needed, but if he felt that he needed it at that time, then I was willing to support him on it and have an openness. So I talked to other people that were in non-monogamous relationships and tried to figure out what I'd be comfortable with. And he kept avoiding us talking about the subject. And then I found out, before we had talked about anything and set any boundaries and went over our feelings with anything and progressed. So to my thought that we were still in our original relationship state.
Meaning monogamous?
Yes,
Okay.
I was monogamous, but excuse me. But anyway, I found out that, like I said before, we had that conversation that we both agreed on and both thought would be a great idea, that he was going on a date with someone else. And so that was a big shock and I felt very disrespected by it. So then soon after that, again, I just kind of laid it down and said, we need to have this conversation and set through everything. And even when I went to his place to have the conversation, he tried to avoid it again, and ended up having a conversation. He was not willing to compromise on his wants. He doesn't even really fully know what he wants, which makes it more difficult.
Yeah.
And pretty much said that he just wants to be on a casual state, which to me was just like, okay, then we're breaking up. That's it. You can't just have something that, like, we've built up and then just go casual from that. It's not, that is splitting up in my understanding.
Right.
So yeah, now we're just fully broken up. We've spoken a few times afterwards, and he wants to have friendship and he wants to still have relations too, but I'm not okay with that.
Okay.
Like, having relations outside of us being together, because, like I said, I think it's just going to complicate things way too much.
Okay.
And
just to clarify, does by relations, do you mind?
So like sexual relations and go out on dates and stuff too. So
Okay.
he pretty much still, like I said, wants to have that casual relationship, and I'm not willing to just, like, be that for him. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because to me, from my understanding, it's more that he doesn't, it's not even about commitment with him, it's more about him being held accountable and responsible. So that's how I feel about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you were in a relationship for first off, that was a friendship that turned into intimate relationship, and there weren't really enough boundaries or maybe if I could use the word rules in the relationship. And what I'm sensing is that maybe you didn't feel like you had a lot of control in what was going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so even the fact that when it seemed very out of the blue when he said he just wanted non-monogamous and wanted to like step back from things, because like I said, like it seemed like everything was on his terms before anyway, and it wasn't that I wanted to be there all the time or whatever. There'd even been times that I would be going out with like friends, and then he'd ask if he could come as well, and I'd allow it. That's fine if you want to come hang out with me and my girlfriends. That's totally fine. But
Sorry, is that during the relationship or after?
During,
okay.
yeah. So it was just funny how, you know, then he says he needs less commitment and more space when he didn't really want that during like previously in the relationship.
Yeah, it sounds like it was very confusing to be a part of that.
For sure.
And how are you feeling now that you've broken up? Would you like to have a friendship with this person?
Well, the thing is, I don't see that being able to happen right away, especially with me knowing that he has gone out with someone else as well, because he still did that when we were in the relationship. Like I said, without those boundaries being made, it was just went and did that. So I don't think I could be friends with him right away. I think that we have similar social circles, and some of his friends have reached out to me because he doesn't talk. He's not very open with his emotions. He avoids them. Like I said, even how he avoided the conversation. So I don't know. His friends have reached out to me too, and they're not really impressed with how he has behaved either. So I don't know. It's really strange. I don't know how to really go about it. Like I'd love to be friends with him, but I definitely don't think I can do that right now.
Sounds like sounds like he's confused about what he wants, but you, and again, this is my interpretation, you know what you want in a relationship, is that correct?
Yep, I know what I want and what I'd be willing to even adapt to. Like I said, like I'd talk to people that were in other forms of like non-monogamous relationships and stuff too. I like kind of did my research to try and make things work with him, and then he wasn't really malleable in the sense.
Yeah, he knew what he wanted, but he wasn't able to communicate it. Yeah.
Well, even in that sense, he doesn't totally know what he wants, because even after we went and had that conversation, because I ended up leaving him pretty much. After that, he was still he was messaging me too and saying, well, you never said what you want, and I'm like, yeah, I did. Like I did, and like just trying to backtrack and backslide on things, and I had to reiterate myself a bit and just really tell him again, oh, this is what I was willing to do. I was willing to have a primary partnership and whatever, and then if you needed to go on dates with other people at this time, that's fine, but I wasn't gonna kind of weird thinking of it in like a hierarchy, but I wasn't really willing to back down.
And if you were willing to be as sensitive to his needs as to, it sounds like you did some research and understood what a non-monogamous relationship would be like in reality, and it seemed like there was less of that research when it came to the facts or about your feelings, frankly.
Exactly. So I feel like I was disrespected and just, cast aside my feelings and my wants. And it's interesting too, because he was the one that brought up the non-monogamy, but then when it came down to it, he didn't really know much about it, and didn't even, was messing up on terminology and on how to explain what he feels that he wants. Because, like I said, I don't think he knows what he really wants. I think he's a little bit lost within it.
You talked, just to go back to you for a
Mhm.
second, you talked about feeling cast aside. Did you want to talk a little bit more about that with me?
Yeah, so just like my feelings and everything, I felt like because he wasn't willing to compromise, that I didn't really matter, because I put out all that effort, and then he's not willing to adapt either to what I feel my needs are. So even, it was really interesting too when he would bring up little things, which, like I said, I don't think it's about commitment with him. I think it's about him being accountable and responsible, and how he feels about himself, because he'd said things too that like he'd never be able to do things like what I've done for him in our relationship and the ways that I've supported him. So, then looking.
How did that feel?
Well, it's not an uncommon thing I've heard in relationships. So it's kind of, for me, it's pretty crappy, because it's like, well, I'm just being supportive and trying to be a good partner and be a positive person, and then I get punished for it. So that's pretty not nice. I don't know. But again, that's not, it's any sort of formal relationship I've had, that's come up. And with people feeling inadequate to me. But I don't, because of my lack of judgment towards others, I don't see that either. Like I don't give myself that credit, and I don't put myself above others. But so because of that being said, I just think, okay, well then why couldn't you try to adapt and try to make compromise for me? If you're saying that you want to be with me, then why can't you try a little harder than if you're saying that, you don't feel on the same level, adequate.
You're putting in so much effort to make sure that this works, and you're not receiving that same kind of consideration back. That must really hurt.
Yeah, it does a lot.
So I'm really glad that you came in to speak to me today about this, and I'd love to speak to you more about this. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but on a closing note, would you like to think of something maybe that next week you'd like to focus on that could make you feel more empowered and like you're taking care of yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I will definitely try and jot out some things and organize my thoughts a little better to then even come forward with you next week and follow up on how everything's going.
That's a wonderful idea, and I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Great, thanks.